Greetings, humanity. Welcome to Channel Otherdoc. I'm Jim, your friendly Lacuna GM. I use he, him pronouns, and this is our Invisible Sun campaign, The Edge of Paradox. This is a development session where we just did one a couple of days ago, and now we're doing our next one as we sort of are gearing back up for this. Invisible Sun is a surreal slice of life game by Monte Cook Games. We're integrating the directed campaign, but most of this game happens spontaneously. I did not throw up the spoiler warning. But just for folks who may be aware, the stream may contain spoilers for the Invisible Sun directed campaign and the Secrets of the Black Cube, so do keep that in mind. If you do not wish to hear the secrets, turn away now. We're going to go ahead and setting this up now. Joining me tonight is Danielle. Hello.
Hello.
And,
yes, I'm here, and as usual, I'm playing Vormeravanis, aka Vor, a connected ardent of the Order of Leaders who shepherds minds, and she uses she/her pronouns. That's true.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, and we're gonna go ahead and let's see, setting the oh hey, Bakalam, greetings, hello, thank you for the sub, much appreciated. Yay, awesome. Like we do with most games on this channel, we're going to be using the X card, the N card, and the O card. If we hit something that's crossing a line for one of us, any of us can type an X in the Zoom video chat or anywhere else, or hold up a card or make an X symbol, and we'll back up and do something else. If something happens that we're okay having in the game, but we don't want a graphic description of it, we can type an N in the Zoom chat, and we'll fade to black on it or put it behind a veil, so it'll be there, but we won't go into detail. Finally, if we're exploring a topic or an area of roleplay that's particularly intense for us, but we want to keep going anyway, we can put an O in the chat to let us know we're okay and that we're all good to keep piling on the drama. Something else we can do is put an O with a question mark after it when we're moving into a difficult topic, or if we say or we do something and then think, maybe that might have been a little too much. Then everyone else can respond to that, again with an X, an N, or an O to let us know if we're still doing okay. We're also using the pause. If any of us needs to take some time, we can ask for a pause in the game while we discuss things, or just take a break for as long as anybody needs. Just a few content warnings as a reminder. This game may contain body horror, surreal imagery, spiders, snakes, and references to memory loss, death, and existential crises. And at any time you can type !ISCW in the chat to have that content warning come up. It's also going to show up periodically because it is on a timer. And also, please remember we have an open door policy, which means any of us and any of you can feel free to step away from this at any time if we need to. It's just a game, and mental health is always more important. But let us address the situation with Vor and see what Vor wants to do. So as we're sort of starting back up, you actually. These development sessions typically we are shorter than regular sessions. We just sort of want to see what downtime stuff Danielle wants to do, and just kind of sort of see where we want to go with things. And everyone's getting back to Saturnine now, so there's stuff that's piled up. So the last time we saw you actually was before the last full episode of last year. So I give you a little summary of what happened, but basically they used the observatory to get everybody back home. And so you now have a connection through the party to get to the symphonic garden in your neighborhood, and also to the mushroom cave just outside of the Duchess's house in her conservatory down next to Yestervale. So you can, yeah. So you now have that direct connection. If by direct you mean walk through a party.
I mean, I think that's how Vor gets everywhere, is by walking through parties. That's just part of the course for her.
The ability to travel by party is very Vor.
Yes.
But so that is kind of how we set things up. So you'll get back to the so emerging from the symphonic garden, and you can your house is still standing. Everything is still I think as you left it for the most part. You've been away about a week.
Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah.
So you have enough time to do various things, grab, catch up on news or what have you, but anything else you kind of want to do. What would you like to take care of this evening?
So the main focus I wanted to address this evening is Vor's continued advancement in her Weaver spell. So the last time we did a development session, gosh, this was a long time ago. I don't even remember when this was. But we addressed Vor going from first degree Weaver to second degree Weaver, which was the culmination of a month or so of tutelage under a higher order Weaver. Her mentor is Lady Bolt. And that was cool. That was really cool. But so now, in order to go from second degree Weaver to third degree Weaver, Vor has to teach other Weavers in her cell. And this is a little bit of a retcon because it says you have to spend a full month. And I think there was definitely time where Vor could have been doing this sort of on the side while we were in Saturnine before we left Yestervale. But it says we have to spend a full month training Weavers of a lesser rank and our own personal discoveries. So in the things that are, and the spells that I, Vor, as the Weaver, have invented on my own weaving my aggregates together, which I think is for Vor it's pretty obvious what Vor would be teaching. Vor would be teaching memory magic, most likely. Deeply ironic because her memory is still extremely patchy and holy, and she has not yet filled it all back in, although she's starting to get pieces of it back. But she herself is very good at reaching into other people's heads, whether to just look at thoughts or to actually, she's helped several people to actually remember things lately.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at this then. I think that so what we'll want to sort of determine here, as that's your basic requirement there.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll need to determine who exactly, who it is that you are tutoring. Your cell, we know, is headed by Lady Volt. We've met her.
Yes.
And I'm sort of going back and looking and sort of thinking about, okay, the people she knows and the people she interacts with. I think she's probably 6th degree.
That would make sense, yeah.
Yes, given everything. But this cell in particular, she probably started when she hit the 6th degree, which I imagine is probably not hysterically long ago. It probably was within... I'm trying to... I don't know. We haven't really decided if it was before the war or not. But I think probably, just because that just sort of makes it easier to determine relationships with people and everything.
The war's basically like a big long blank, so, that doesn't count, right? When determining a long time ago, the war itself doesn't count.
There is no past. Yeah. So what we'll want to sort of figure out is someone you're tutoring. The only other person that we think might be in your cell, we haven't actually fully confirmed it, is the character Anik played briefly when she was here during a sort of a guest session. It was another sort of development mode session for the most part, but with Mac, and so she works in a changery.
Yes.
I think that and one of these days, I'm hoping perhaps we can arrange things schedule-wise so we can actually have the two of you together. But that is a thing for the future. Just because we kind of even... I remember even in that session we established that her character knew Vor and had worked with Vor, but it's just, there was...
Vor's very sociable. I feel like she even outside of herself, she probably knows a lot of other Weavers just because that's who she is.
Certainly. So let's start figuring this out. I think that... let me just do a quick check on a couple of names in case there's someone I feel a desperate need to yank in from this list that I have.
A list? Is it a secret list?
It has a list. It's probably a secret list, yeah. But I have been making, not exactly making inquiries, but I've been going forth and looking at things people have been saying on the forums for the directed campaign to try to see, like, okay, who becomes important later. So you never know.
Note to self: fellow weavers may be important later.
Possibly. One never knows. So I'm just going to take a quick look based on these names that I have in front of me, and if we don't get anything else, then we shouldn't actually be a problem. Let's see, weaver. What other weavers do I actually have? Okay, not that one. And not that one. And probably not that one.
Spicy secret stuff going on there.
Well, the only, actually, right now, what I just looked at, the only 3 weavers that I've got so far on my, I've been going back through and making a list of different characters that we have, different NPCs, as I've been sort of going back and rewatching stuff, thus far, I'm up to like episode 21 or 22 at this point in my rewatch, so there may be some that happen afterward, and you know, I've added what I remember, but like the only 3 that I've got listed right now in my on our campaign history chart here is our Mayfer and Lady Volt and Tony, possibly. We don't know if Tony's a weaver or an apostate. And I don't think any of them work for this. So I'm just going to really quickly check these other names that I have written down, the secret names, just to make sure to see. I don't think, actually, when I last looked at them, I don't think they are, but I'm gonna make sure if I can.
We have definitely met very few weavers in campaign. Now that I think about it.
Let me see if I can find it here. People of Fartown. Okay. No, that's events. That's an apostate. And who is this? That is probably another apostate. I think. Could be.
Mike James needs to give the weavers some love.
I know, right? Huh. Yeah, this one I'm going to have to study more before I figure out what they are. So otherwise I could, it's like one person I could plug in, but I'm not sure. And then someone that I don't want to plug in because I feel as though I do not want to use them. So let's see. Yeah, I know, such strange, mysterious things. Let me also check. Didn't you meet a weaver on the? I haven't gotten to it yet in the thing, but I think you met a weaver on the train. Who probably is not in your cell because you met them on the train, necessarily. But out of morbid curiosity, I just want to see if I can open this real quick. So we haven't had a lot of them.
I suppose that's very possible.
There's someone that you played the Spiders game with. Okay. Oh, he's already 3rd degree.
Well, that won't work.
Yeah. That was Elias Strone. Was that one's name? I'll go ahead and write that down. Wait, I already wrote it down? Are you telling me he was on my list and I did not label him a weaver? How dare I? Weaver. There we go. Okay. All right. Now that we've had the few exciting moments watching me try to update my spreadsheet, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and we're going to play Build-A-Weaver.
Weaver.
We're going to our local Build-A-Weaver, and we're going to see what kind of person we've got for you. So I feel like your cell is probably, so cells are typically, they're between like 6 and 30 people.
Mm-hmm.
So do we feel as though you are in a big cell or a small cell? Or a medium-sized cell? How big is your cell?
Vor is pretty sociable. So she would probably gravitate toward a larger cell.
Okay.
And Lady Volt seems pretty influential within Fartown and Saturnine. So I'm thinking that it would not be unreasonable for her to have a larger cell of sort of hangers-on and people wanting to learn.
There was probably a certain degree of new hotness going on with the whole thing, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm imagining almost, do we feel as though there was controversy of some kind at all when she broke off and made her cell?
Ooh, I like that.
Were you there, or were you, or did you join? Do you think you would have joined after it had happened?
So we said that her cell was created pre-war.
Yeah. This would have been before the stuff that happened. But sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I almost wonder if Vor was not a member of Lady Volt's cell prior to the war, and post-war has since joined it.
Ooh, okay.
Or changed from where she was studying previously.
I wonder why she did that. Do you think there was some sort of was there something she had been holding on to previously, or that
Yeah, I mean, I wonder too, like, I know we've seen that there's a, like, particularly for Vor and Aroshka, there's a lot of pre and post-war difference because of how impacted they've been with memory loss. I'm almost wondering if, like, maybe part of the reason is that Vor's aggregates were different.
Interesting.
And that pre-war Vor's aggregates were not the same as the ones that she has now. And part of the reason for the switch was to find a Weaver cell that better aligned with her interests, which post-war Vor's interests are probably she is very bent on figuring out what happened to her and why it happened. And that's probably very different than what pre-war Vor's goals and such were.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any ideas, or shall we play with randomizers?
For Weavers?
Or for do you remember anything about what her aggregates were like beforehand? Or
let me take a look. Let me see.
We don't have to dig into it deeply, but
but let me open the way real quick.
Yeah. While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and draw a card, to try to help us figure out who this person you're going to be tutoring is, or you've been tutoring. Why do I keep getting this?
What card did you draw?
I got this card last time. You don't want to know.
It's not my lucky coin, is it?
It's not your lucky coin. I actually drew that. That was the last card that I drew at the when we were. That's the last card I drew last year when to try to determine how things are going to be for folks when they return to Saturnine.
Well, I would say that's a fortuitous return to Saturnine then.
Yeah, so there'll probably be a fortuitous return to Saturnine. But if, as you're requesting, this is something that started in the past, I will need, of course, to see what this card portends. So...
Yes.
Oh, hang on. Let's see. So this is card number 39. So we once again have the enveloping darkness. Would you take on someone who's into dark things? Do we think, as a pupil?
I don't know. I wonder. I think pre-war Vor was maybe a little bit more ambitious in a dark way. Maybe not to the extent that Aroshka was, but like they were cousins. Like they were cousins. They still are.
That's true. And I mean, apparently Vor had some kind of association which we have yet to discover with the head of the Church of Midnight. So
yeah, with Infilosa. So I could see pre-war Vor maybe being like a slightly darker version. Like, I don't think she's ever what you would consider like outright evil, but maybe a little bit more callous. And I don't think her memory, like, I don't think her forte changed. I think she's always had the ability to do mind stuff, and that's a very delicate thing.
Let me see then.
Like I'm looking at like in the aggregates, I'm looking at like heart and lust, which are like, they're kind of close to what she has now, but like lust in particular, I feel like might be a slightly darker one. Like the first thing that's listed is compulsion under qualities.
Just out of morbid curiosity, was Vor's relationship with Variagan before the war? Also?
Oh God, I think we did establish that it was, didn't we?
I think perhaps it was.
I think it was, and that would be the perfect example of Vor being a little bit callous.
Jesus Christ.
I think we did establish that her relationship with Barry Egan was before the war.
I need to just apologize to you and to everyone in general that apparently sometimes I have a tendency to suggest ideas that of the sort of that warrant the kind of character-based self-loathing that a lot of my characters have. I don't think I do it consciously, but I'm sort of thinking about that now.
So looking at it again, I think I would say pre-war Vor's aggregates were thunder and lust. Okay. And I think those shifted post-war to become fire and challenge, which were the two she started with.
Okay. All right.
So it's similar, but they are slightly different in what they do.
Okay. All right. So I think that just given this, let me go ahead and pull up once again the Enveloping Darkness, because, you know, why not pull up the Enveloping Darkness? I mean, that I feel it's just something people do. So as a reminder, dark isn't its meanings are restriction, loss, and endings. Dark isn't an absence of light. Light is an absence of darkness. Darkness is the default. It moves in to fill any place the light abandons. The dark was the totality of the actuality before the suns existed, and according to many, the dark will be the totality again once the suns are gone. The darkness is the end. It takes things. It takes us. It grabs, constricts, and overwhelms everything not warded by the light. And in divination, the enveloping darkness pretends an ending. Something draws quickly to a close. Endings aren't always bad, though, so this card turn can bring relief as an affliction or a problem comes to an end. This card can also mean restriction or denial. The tendrils of the enveloping darkness can hold us fast to keep us from doing what we want, an end to freedom, so to speak. This card does not suggest death for the person in question, but it can suggest the death of someone involved in the matter at hand. So, we have some questions.
All right. Let's go.
I have some questions. I say we. So I guess, so I think the first question is this someone that you met in your new cell, or that you brought with you from your old cell?
Ooh, that's a good question, isn't it? I think it's someone from the new cell. Because Vor's memory loss was pretty extreme. Going from pre-war to post-war, there's a lot that got edited out. And I think in the interests of not only trying to figure out what happened, but also dealing with the way her power has changed, I think she would go for a clean break. So just switch to a new Weaver cell, start fresh.
Okay, now that makes sense. I feel like a lot of Vizsla do that. coming back. So as far as just, switching things up, it's kind of an opportunity too.
I almost think it was like somewhat of a, well, if I do this, then I maybe won't be tempted to go digging around and figure out what happened, which totally did not work. She remained just as tempted and has now really stuck her foot in it, trying to figure out what the heck happened to her. But it was like part of her attempt to try to not care.
Yeah.
Which failed, ultimately. What are you going to do?
Cursed curiosity. So I guess then we need to determine a little bit more about the nature of this individual. So this is someone who is probably like first degree, I would assume. It would have to be.
It'd have to be.
Just for the logistics of this to work. Is this someone that Vor likes, or is this someone that Vor is, for whatever reason, might not like so much?
I would say there are very few people that Vor just like actively dislikes. She's not really that kind of person. She's not hard to get along with unless you like really screw her over. And I doubt that. I mean, it always has felt to me from reading the descriptions that Weavercells are kind of like families, and they probably have the same drama that families have periodically. Yeah. But at the end of the day, these are people you're pretty close to and you probably spend a lot of time with. So, and given the nature of what Vor has to teach, I don't think she would teach someone she didn't like.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense. Starting to take notes. Let me see here. So, this is someone who studies something that, now, the enveloping darkness can have a number of different things. So we have different things we can play with here. We have fear, we have death, we have just darkness, not necessarily as in the dark, but not the void, but the just aesthetic idea of darkness. Is this someone who? What sort of aspects of this do we think they play with? Let me actually also hang on. I can pull up a thing. Yeah, do you have an idea? Yeah.
Yeah. So you were talking about the aspects of the card, and one of the things you talked about was death. I know there's a lot of really interesting mechanics around the way death works in Invisible Sun, because basically everyone eventually ends up at the Pale, right? And the Pale is an actual physical place that you can visit, etc. What if this is someone who works a lot with ghosts and people from the Pale, and the reason they're trying to learn memory magic is to try to help or deal with ghosts that have lost their memory in some fashion? You're making a noise that I think means you like this idea.
I do. Well, it's interesting because there's someone I can't plug in here because they're too high level, but I think is probably maybe like a relative of theirs, so we'll probably get to play with soon. So if this is someone who deals with death magic in some way, perhaps some form of is this person is this person living or dead?
They themselves, I think, are living.
They're still living. Now. Okay.
Yeah, still living.
Okay. And so let's see. There's a person I'm going to talk a little bit about, whom your student probably is connected to in some fashion. There is in Satyrine, in Fartown, there is a Vizsla named Enridima.
Okay.
Who is an expert on ghosts, the dead, and necromancy, quote unquote. They have basically a lot of goth going on, both in their appearance and their house.
Love it.
And this, I think, is either an older sibling or a parent of your student.
I like that.
If that makes sense.
I like that a lot.
Let's see. Do we want... I think actually what I could do is I could draw a second card here to see if it'll give us a little more information about them as we slowly begin just divining the nature of these things. Because often, something I've noticed recently is that one symbol can give you a start to something, but two symbols, when you smash them together, can provide an interesting level of brainstormery. So let's see what else we... Really?
What now, Jim?
I was hoping for... Well, okay. Let me go ahead and let's go ahead and take a look. No, everything's fine. Everything's just fine. There are no problems.
Sure. Okay.
Everything's just fine. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. This is card number 20. And the card that I've drawn is the Inevitable Cataclysm.
Dark cards tonight. Good God.
It's a gold card, however, which I'm starting to think about in terms of as I was trying to figure out what kind of magic this person casts, right? So part of that was I was going to ask if there was a particular color of magic that you were thinking might be good. But I was thinking maybe gold magic, but we'll see. Inevitable Cataclysm. Let's just as a quick little reminder about this very happy card, the Inevitable Cataclysm. Its meanings are bad luck, endings, inevitability, breaking a relationship. While we fear the cataclysm, it is inevitable. We cannot prevent it. The end comes for all things eventually, and we cannot stop it. The earth quakes, the seas advance, the sky falls, fire engulfs everything. We can try to survive it, but that's likely the best we can hope for. An optimist might try to say that a cataclysm can be cleansing and change things for the better. But the inevitable cataclysm really isn't about that. It's about endings. In divination, it's difficult to see this card turn as a positive one. Typically, even if it suggests that something unwanted comes to an end, it is usually a violent and costly one. This card might just be seen as ill fortune, but it could also be the end of a relationship, the end of an ongoing success, or that of a significant possession, like a house, might be in danger of destruction. My immediate thought is that this pupil of yours is troubled. Possibly has had some kind of a break with the person I was just talking about, Enredima. With their family. Maybe is, I don't know if they'd say that they're on the run from them, or if it's just someone that,
they're avoiding for now.
They're just avoiding for now. They don't want to deal with their family right now for whatever reason, which seems to be a theme recently also with some of the NPCs we've been running into. So how do we, Let's develop a little bit here then. Do we like the idea of it being gold magic, or do you want to pick another color that you think might be more closer to the person that we're building here? Or, you know, they can do more than gold magic probably, but you know.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
I mean, pale has got to be in there somewhere if they do stuff with the dead.
Pale's got to be in there somewhere. I think we're somewhere between pale, blue, because blue is the magic of emotions and feelings, and then gold I actually think is good as well as like new beginnings. Being one
growth and change.
Growth and change. Yeah, I kind of think somewhere between those three is a good
Okay. Cool.
And of course, Weaver magic is weird in that it's really on an effect by effect basis what color it is, so to speak.
That's true. That's very true. So I think then, as I'm just kind of wandering through here, yeah, that's true. That's right. The color of the thing depends just on what you're trying to do.
It depends on what you're trying to do.
Which comes
I would
second.
say Vor herself leans to. She probably does a lot of what she does. I would say is blue.
Yeah.
As well as maybe a little bit of gold. Occasionally red when she's feeling feisty. She does have a tendency to light her sword cane on fire and attack people with it. But yeah, I would say so. It almost makes sense that this person, whoever they are, maybe a lot of their magic individually is kind of pale and gold, and maybe they've come to her for assistance, learning more about like blue magic.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense because that'd be something you'd have in common there, as an interest there. Okay, so something related to death, something related to the mind and feelings, and so that will tell me. Then, let me check, see if I've got in my notes where do I have that? I wrote down in here somewheres. Some page numbers I wanted to remember. Is it planning? Yes, there it is. Colors of Magic. There it is. Page 12 of the way on the PDF. So, yeah, telepathy, mind reading, memory alteration, dream modification, most emotional effects and similar effects are blue. Blue practices never directly impact the physical world. And so they're used to doing piercing the veil, physically reach beyond the normal bounds as people entering the pale include such things as conjurations, banishments, or restoring a soul to a dead body. And transformation, gold, practices that physically change one thing into another, or that modify the physical substance or shape of all thing are gold. Okay. This is sounding a little dark. But
I kind of knew that was where we were headed now.
That's fair. So, and we have the inevitable cataclysm. So things, so they are troubled. They have, They have so they have a lot in their mind. Do we think that they cause cataclysms, or maybe maybe not full scale, but you know what I mean? Or are they trying to avoid cataclysms?
That's a good question.
Endings.
I think there may be an element of wanting to avoid cataclysms, but maybe sometimes not always being able to. And that perhaps is part of the reason why they're avoiding their family right now. And I think Bor probably would sympathize with that to a certain degree, given the family history on her side.
Yeah.
And the things that have happened to her. I think that would be appealing to her in a person, something she can sympathize with a good bit. Yeah.
It's like, and I think maybe it's like they're running from the idea of inevitability. They have a lot of bad luck. Recently. Okay. What pronouns do we want to give this person?
Let's go ahead and use they them for this person.
All right. And if this is probably someone who is, if they're related to the person that we were speaking of earlier, Enredima. Probably she this individual is probably naturally pale in much the way Enredima is. Do we want them to look? Do we want them to resemble Enredima at all? Sort of pale black hair, that kind of thing, or do we want?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a familial resemblance is appropriate up to a certain bounds.
Have they been to a changery yet, or are they? Or are they unchanged at present?
I kind of like, because this is supposed to be a first degree Weaver. So I kind of like the idea that they maybe haven't been to a changery yet, or at least not for anything big. Like,
yeah.
Like, I mean, honestly, and even like Vor herself has not had a lot of big stuff done. Like, Vor's biggest change was taking her own eyes out and replacing it with the band of gold so that she's harder to read. But I think given like where they're at, it's probably appropriate for like maybe only minor.
Okay. All right, cool. Cool. So that being the case, then, yeah, I think that maybe just given what she had been looking at, what she'd been studying, she'd been looking at the transitions of things. What they had been studying, they were looking at the transitions between things. They were looking at death. They probably saw a lot of death, and they probably were in a position to see a lot of people dying. Possibly, there
war
were
related.
Yeah, possibly war related. Possibly they were around, you know, for some of the war. So they didn't end up fleeing into the gray as soon as
way most Vizsla did.
As soon as a lot of Vizsla did. Yeah, some there are Vizsla who fought in the war, and they generally don't talk about it. So I think that our student here is no exception, and so they probably. That's the thing. I think that's the thing that probably also caused the break, at least, because coming back, they realize, you know, okay, we got to start new here. I don't want to go back home. You think Enredima's their mother or sister?
I feel like we're positioning this Vizsla as kind of younger, so I think maybe it makes more sense for them to be Enredima's child.
Okay, so they don't want to go back to their mother. They don't want to have to deal with what they felt obligated to deal with. And so they're probably, I mean, they had to, there were so many ghosts and wraiths that they had to grow up with, deal with. At the point they just don't want to create anymore. So, new direction. So they come to you and they ask you to point them in a new direction. What do you suggest?
I like this. Yeah, we're going like full like ghost hunters with this. So I love this as like a side story of like Vor and her protege going ghost hunting through Saturnine. There's a whole show there. Yeah, I think it's about helping them confront some of these ghosts and spirits and helping them figure out. I mean, I imagine the war probably left behind a lot of very angry and wrathful spirits that are like confused or taking it out on people around them. And so Vora is like helping this Vizsla to go confront these ghosts and help put them to rest by helping them remember who they used to be. And I like this a lot. Also coming out of the Limerence Street arc, where we had to deal with that spirit too.
Yeah.
Like I feel like this is a sort of a natural follow-on from that. It makes a lot of sense for Vor narratively.
Okay. All right. Good. So that actually being the case, let me go ahead and I think we should probably give this individual a name.
Yes, let's do that.
Do we now I can go diving through some name generators if we like. If we want to do that. Unless you have any thoughts.
I'm thinking, although we may have to go through some name generators too.
Yeah. I'm getting... Do we want a name that's a thing, or do we want a name that is sounds more like just a name that a person has been given?
Just a name that sounds like a name is fine.
Okay. Let's see. Gargoyle names are probably looking a little too sharp right now, so... Let's see. That's a little Germanic. And Banshee names. Nope, that unfortunately doesn't give us names. That just gives us legend names. Norse ravens. Norse ravens are interesting. Hilly. Stone spirit. Vetra. There are a lot of ways we can go with
Ooh,
this,
I kind of like this as a name. Adis?
Adis?
Mm-hmm. I'll put it in the chat.
Sure.
See how it would be spelled.
Okay. Let me take a look here. Adis. Okay. Yeah. And it's a temple, shrine, tomb, room, dwelling of the gods. Yeah. I like this. You want to go with Adis?
Yeah, let's go with Adis. I like that.
All right. And also, I mean, their parent is, their mother's also a one name person, so I think that's probably just fine.
It's a family of people like Cher and Madonna.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna set them at so they're first level order first degree.
First degree weaver.
First degree weaver. I'm gonna set them. I'm gonna give them a, before I forget, I'm gonna give them like a. I'm gonna give them a challenge of 3 if we need to do any rolling with related to them for now, I think. So I guess then the only thing that remains here, if you'll indulge me, is I think I'm going to draw a card to see, as you talked about going ghost hunting, there must have been some challenge or other that they had that you helped them overcome.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna take a look at a card to see if we want, if that gives us some guidance. If there's a particular thing maybe.
And honestly, whatever we land on here is this challenge. I mean, I know this is getting Vorta to become a 3rd degree, but this probably is getting them to be a 2nd degree weaver, because the 1st degree weaver, you're supposed to complete a month of study with a higher tier weaver. So
well, it's possible they might have actually. I mean, this could be okay. So let's also ask: do we want this to be 1st to 2nd or 0 to 1st?
For them?
Yeah.
I think it's cool if it's like 1st to 2nd, because if they fought in the war, they probably have at least certain knowledge.
That is true.
I think they have to be at least a 1st degree weaver. But
I feel like they were helping take care of the dead in the war, probably, or something like that. Even though they can't talk about it, but it's still.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense for this to be actually going from 1st to 2nd as part of Vor going from 2nd to 3rd. Yeah. I like that.
Okay. Interesting. I've drawn the Misunderstood Beast.
Oh my god, we're on a theme tonight.
One of our favorite cards, the Misunderstood Beast. Let me pull that up here again as a reminder. Okay, the Misunderstood Beast, it means mistakes, gentleness, friendship, danger, betrayal. The Misunderstood Beast is a gentle giant, not a murderous monster. It seeks our friendship, not our flesh. Can we see past its physical nature and ascertain its truth? Will we even try? Snap judgments can result in horrific mistakes. We judge something by its appearance or simply the initial reaction it churns in our heart, but the real truth of a thing can rarely be ascertained so quickly. This misstep can catch us from either direction. We might judge something ugly as evil when it is not, or we might assume someone pleasant is a friend when they are not. Either way, we are harmed or at least lessened as a result. So in divination, something is not what it seems. This could be a concealed threat that will result in betrayal, or it could be something useful that one is ignoring or even avoiding. The turn of this card warns of such mistakes, but the mistake might have already been made, and the Misunderstood Beast spells out the results of such a mistake. Often this card suggests that one should look for aid from unexpected corners, but warily. In fact, what it really says is that if someone looks to be a friend, they are not, and those that seem to be a threat likewise are not. This is hard advice to take, and obviously it is not always true, only when this card is turned. Okay. So, than maybe something that felt like it was much more threatening than it ended up being.
I think that fits really well with sort of the laying ghost to rest theme that we've got going here. Like there being a particularly like nasty, terrible ghost. And then when Adis and Vor went after it to see what they could do, it actually, you know, as they started pulling through its memories and getting it to remember who it used to be, like it turned out to not be, heck, maybe it even turned out to be someone that one of them knew.
Okay.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh no, what if it was Very again?
Oh god. So this would have been quite recently then.
Oh no, that's horrible, but I kind of like it. I do feel like a Visley would leave a pretty nasty ghost.
It's entirely possible, yes.
I think we established that Berrigan didn't die in good circumstances.
This is true. Yes, Berrigan was killed trying to. Okay, well, we want to. Do we want to plug Berrigan in here? Is this how we want to do this? I'll be happy to do it.
I think it's particularly meaningful for Vor because she already feels bad about this.
All right. So, quite simply, and I'm not going to spare. You may have noticed that we haven't been doing much in the way of role playing this evening. That's not my intention this evening. We're just sort of figuring things out. But I think that, and also there's a time issue also. But I think that Berrigan probably it's a case where by this point you have identified that there is something that maybe he seemed upset or resentful a little bit, or is just troubled by this whole thing. There was some kind of spirit-looking thing that was going around that you and your pupil Adis were hunting. And it looked to be causing issues. And you ultimately decided that... I don't know. I actually don't want to say that you've necessarily completely helped him to move on. Because I've had a thought. But,
oh no.
But you were able to figure out that, do we think this was a transformation or a possession?
I kind of like the idea of it being a transformation because we're talking about like misinterpreting someone as more dangerous than they actually are, or vice versa. Yeah. I think that's maybe a little bit easier to do with transformation, but I really love this idea of like them going after this ghost, and Adis is starting to use techniques that Vor has taught them, only to like go diving into this person's memories and realize, hey Vor, you're in here.
Yeah. So, that being the case, I think then, we have a case where it was maybe around one of the more areas of Satyrine that has more sort of covered in rubble, because there are lots of those
war affected areas.
Yeah,
perhaps
there's a name for them. Unfortunately, it's not popping up in my head immediately, but there's a thing they call them. But we know what we're talking about. And maybe there was what seemed to be this creature just sort of digging through the rubble in some place, and I will look this up later, but some place possibly that may have access to, or just that maybe where they were ending up with a lot of spiders' nests. And And maybe this is someone who had maybe they took on the aspect of something not unlike a spider.
I mean, Varigan's house did spiders, so
yeah. So I think it makes sense. And that eventually, so it's like, no, this is not a spider. This is a thing that's kind of like, it's a ghost taking on the shape of a spider. And so Adis was sort of like, wait a minute, the spider knows you. Hang on. You patch into this trunk call, please. And ultimately, just sort of, it stops its eternal sort of hunt as it was going through, almost trapdoor spider-like, trying to hunt for things, meaning trying to follow something, and basically got them to calm down enough to give them back just enough of themselves that they transformed. You would see Varigan again. And then they just sort of looked at you, realized what was going on, and probably then vanished.
So Varigan's spirit is loose in Saturnine somewhere now?
Probably.
Oh, great.
But they at least stopped what they were doing, and they have sort of come back to themselves more.
Have I handed you
a come back to himself.
Put in my back later, Jim?
Yes, I'm feeling good about the knife quotient for this particular session. So yes, I think that's probably what happened. So we've figured this out. So what this culminates in then is after this event, and maybe this takes place, maybe this particular thing is like, it was like supposed to be your sort of a final sort of little exam you were giving to Adis.
Yeah.
And so it's like maybe the first thing you do when you come back from Yestervale.
Yeah.
And you do that, and there is obviously, they passed because they helped figure out who it was.
Yes.
I think. So they're probably going to be able to very soon get second degree. But then you will then be getting third degree, which means that the cell has an informal ceremony to induct you. It's part of a training and initiation into the ranks of this new degree, and so you get one of your ephemera can be a conation incantation, which I remember there's a significant difference between those two, fairly.
There is. I think that's where you can like choose what you want, I think.
Yeah, I think so. You'll have access to 4 aggregates. You can weave up to 3 of them at a time.
Yep.
Weaving in a 3rd aggregate may simply expand the breadth of an effect and also magnify it. There's things. Have you decided what your 4th aggregate is going to be?
I'm waffling on a couple of different ones. I kind of, we just established that Lust and Thunder were the 2 that she used to have. And I kind of like the idea that she is going along and sort of regaining her memories, that those aggregates are going to come back. So I'm debating, I think I might take Lust as her next one.
Is that something you kind of did to help snap him out of it?
I don't know what you're talking about. No, probably not, because it was Adis's exam. Like,
that's
Adis
true.
had
That's
to,
true.
Adis
Yeah.
had to do the work.
Yeah.
But there was probably a very charged moment before Varigan's ghost disappeared. But yeah, I think I'm probably gonna take Lust. I was already considering that one, just because it has a lot of effects that I think play really well with Vor's powers already.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like the idea that this is as part of her regaining knowledge, that this is the aggregate that comes back to her.
Cool. No, I like that. So we have enhanced weave. Upon attaining 3rd degree, we select one of the qualities of an aggregate that we have access to, and if we use that quality in a weave, it costs 1 less bene from our sorcery pool. So you can do that at some point. You don't have to tell me right now, necessarily. And practiced weave upon attaining 3rd degree, we choose another effect we've created in the past, and now if we recreate it, it costs 1 less bene. So there's that. And now you are going to be expected to work with lower ranking weavers in your cell and instruct them in the methods and practices of good weaving. Same thing, basically.
Yeah, basically. More the same. Teach more people.
More of the same. So cool. I think that you're going to have, there's going to be a quick ceremony that Lady Volt is going to hold at the towers for you to induct you. I think that Adis will probably be there, and maybe a few other weavers will be there, whom we shall figure out. And I think that I don't know if there's much else that Volt is probably going to at some point want to talk to you when there's time. Probably want to talk to you a little bit about what's been going on. But for the time being, she's sort of going to indicate that things with, after her conversation with Her Elegance, things are kind of in a holding pattern.
Okay.
Of sorts, as far as she can tell on that front. But there's something, she's concerned what Her Elegance is going to try to do next now that she's remembered something. Lady Volt feels that Her Elegance, this was her memories of something to do with Limerence Street coming back.
Okay.
And so it's something to kind of watch.
Okay. I can't remember the last time we did like a scene with Lady Volt and Vor. Did Vor ask about Infilosa? I cannot remember for the life of me.
I think that I think it was very brief. I don't think Infilosa really came up.
Yeah, because I don't think at that point Vor really knew much yet.
Yeah.
She knows more now. So yeah, I think whenever she has a moment to catch up with Lady Volt, Lady Volt's her mentor. She trusts her. So yeah. She would share probably a good bit of what's happened and the things that have been going on, as well as the bits and pieces that she's remembered. In the interest of just seeing if Lady Volt knows anything or has like a contact that Vor should follow up on.
I see. Well, if you'll indulge me, I'll draw one more card.
Go for it. I'm just getting whammied by the cards tonight, apparently.
It would so appear. Okay. Hang on. Let me pull this card up. This is card number 42. I have drawn the assassin.
Okay, appropriate, given what I'm asking about.
Okay. Dun, 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 dun. So, the assassin it means finesse, stealth, betrayal, finality. Subtlety is the assassin's greatest tool. Anyone can kill, but he does it so deftly and so quickly that even the victim doesn't realize they're dead until the assassin is long gone. He often poses as someone harmless or even friendly. Because betrayal is subtlety's closest sibling, the assassin is the adept of mysteries. His knowledge of the secrets of death is limitless, and his use of skill and finesse would be a thing of beauty if he used them for anything other than murder, but he does not. The assassin doesn't just bring death, he brings an ending. Endings can be welcome. The ending of something unwanted, for example. Or when it suggests betrayal, it might be a relationship that comes to an end. But when this card is turned, it can indeed foretell literal death or the threat of death. If this is the case, the death will come from an unexpected quarter. So here's the thing that Lady Volt is going to mention. Her Her memories of just before the war are kind of spotty, just like everyone else's. But someone tried to kill Infilosa shortly after you disappeared.
Really?
She remembers that.
Interesting.
And this, again, was before you were her Lady Volt's responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't... I don't know how well you might have known her before the war.
Probably not super well. I mean, probably like in a social context, they
Yeah.
probably had been at some parties together, but like not.
Yeah, not like they weren't close or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lady Volt does kind of remember when you disappeared. And that someone also tried to take out someone tried to kill Infilosa shortly after that. And she knows that there's also now apparently she will ask if you have read the paper.
Oh, I have not personally. Danielle has not read the paper, but Vor probably has. I'm going to go look at the paper right now.
Yeah, Jim's going to go ahead and pull up the thing because, well, she's going to tell you. She's going to point you to an article that doesn't seem to have... It might be nothing. It might be nothing. But there is a certain resonance with this topic of discussion.
Uh-huh.
That Lady Volt feels might be relevant. Let me see. This is the Daily Sites. The article she's going to point you to is on the second page.
Mm-hmm.
About graves being disturbed throughout the city. So it seems like, and this, interestingly enough, is probably something that Adis already knows about because, you know, death.
I'm sure, yeah.
But some graves are being disturbed.
Mm-hmm. And 8 of the graves are members of the Church of Midnight.
Yep. And at least 8 of the graves held members of the Church of Midnight. And their speculation is, in the papers, it could suggest the actions of a rival organization as an act against the church rather than random body snatching.
And we know, was it the Vespertine that were spying on the Church of Midnight and posing as members of the Church of Midnight on the train?
Yep.
Yeah.
So someone may be targeting the Church of Midnight even now.
Okay. And the Church of Midnight like has like an actual presence like here in the city, right?
Oh,
like,
yes.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, I do think what happens at some point during this downtime span as well, probably after the party and, you know, everything is settled and Vor like settles back into life a little bit. I think Vor writes a letter and probably uses her magic to seal it in some fashion so that it can only be opened by the person for whom it is intended. I'm trying to think about what would be the right. So like, for instance, I have proximity from lust, and I have I think maybe gravity from diamond, and maybe like obstacles or something from challenge, basically to try to like weave a spell that basically says only the intended addressee of this letter can open this letter, right? Probably not, I assume that's not a very complicated effect ultimately.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Preventing someone from opening a letter seems like it's not that crazy. But then she would address it to Infilosa and either I'm not sure if she takes it herself or if she has someone drop it off, but if she has someone drop it off, it would have to be someone she trusts. So honestly, like maybe even Adis, like asks Adis, because if there's a chance Adis being who they are maybe interested in this already if they know about this. If they decide to go say something to a member of the Church of Midnight or get involved in any way, Vor would give them the letter and say, hey, take this to the church. It's addressed to Invelosa and like Vor's very loopy flowing script on the outside. And on the inside, all it says is, I think we need to talk.
Okay. All right. Adis, I think, is slightly reluctant to do it, but we'll do it for you. If only because they don't want to necessarily run into people that might be friends of their mother. To be clear, there's not an indication at this time that Adis's mother is part of the Church of Midnight. So it's not necessarily that. Enridima, however, might... Let's just say I feel as though there's a certain degree of overlap with some of the subject matter of interest. So they've probably... Enridima she's probably encountered quite a few Midnighters before and has probably had dealings with them.
If that's what Adis is worried about, I think Vor probably would add a little bit of magic when they go to take the letter that will erase Adis's face, so that they don't. So anyone who sees them does not remember who they were.
Cool. Okay, we'll go ahead and say that you do that, and we shall ultimately find out what the results of that are soon. Probably quite suddenly.
Just rolled all the knives out for you, Jim. Have fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I think we've gotten this set up here. Is there anything else you wanted to take care of this evening?
I don't think so. I think that hits on the big things. We've got the third degree Weaver thing sorted. Now I have a new friend. And Thor has officially reached out to Invelosa, so we'll see how that goes.
Excellent. Cool. Awesome. I'm very glad we got stuff done. This was a bit more of a chill thing than I think we usually do, but I'm perfectly happy having that kind of thing from time to time. Myself, was this? How did this feel? How was this for you this evening?
No, this was good. I've had a headache all day, so it's kind of nice just to like kind of step back a little bit and pilot in third degree story or third person storytelling for a little bit here, just to kind of establish where things are sitting for Vor as we start to circle back and regroup. So, and like I said, now you have so many emotional knives to throw at me over the coming arc. So I'm really excited about that. Please use all the knives.
Excellent. Oh, I shall. Excellent. Very good. Okay, very cool. Was there anything else I think we took care of everything that we wanted to take care of.
We took care of everything. I'll sort out the rest of my third degree Weaver stuff before the next big group session.
Okay. Awesome. So, as you have given also your final thoughts for tonight, I guess, then feel free to tell us tell us where we can find you and any other final things you wanted to say for tonight.
Final thoughts is I'm really excited to see where this goes. Taking the trip to Yestervale was definitely fun, and I think it was a very cool thing for Vor to deal with, especially with the Insidious. Yeah. Given what her magic style was, but it did kind of put things. It put her personal story on hold, I think, a little bit, because we were far away from really the person she needed to talk to, which is Invelosa at this point. Yeah. So I'm excited to be back in Saturnine and to have access to that again, to continue uncovering more of what's going on there. So I'm very excited about the next leg of our journey. And then I'm Danielle. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Iraq and Tor. I am not currently in any other streaming games, so this is the only time you can catch me. So yeah, just stay tuned on Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time for more Maravanas adventures and my soon side series, Vor and Adis Ghost Hunters, or Ghost Put to Resters.
Yes. that will be turning up in many places in any number of dime novels and possibly radio shows in Saturnine.
They're going to start a podcast.
Yeah, that's it. Oh my God. They're like, I think they said they're like three radio stations in Saturnine, if I remember correctly. So it's possible.
Before an 8 witching hour.
Perfect.
Podcast at midnight.
Excellent. Good. All right. And so as for myself, I'm Jim. You can find me at OtherDoc on both Twitch and Twitter. My website is jimyesthatjim.com, where you can find my Geek Observation podcast and links to my various other podcasts, audio dramas, writings, and such. I have links down below to my website, Twitter, YouTube channel, and various other things. So on Friday, I'm going to be over on the Wandering Society, and we're going to be having the premiere of our regular series of Dresden Files over there. A series I believe we are referring to as Spare Change. It's run by Alyssa, who ran the Dark Matter campaign on this channel. And so we have some of the same crew, some different crew. So I'm very much looking forward to getting back to that and playing my very, very kind and clueless troubleshooter who for some reason is very, very good at fighting monsters. And then, of course, on Saturday nights, we have our regular sessions of Invisible Sun, this game, The Edge of Paradox. So for the next couple of weeks, roughly, we are going to be doing more of these development sessions. I want everyone to be able to get a development session before we dive back into the thick of it. I can tell you that means that the one coming up this Saturday will most likely be another development session. Where we will see someone else's story and what they're doing. But then after that, we'll have 2 more to go. So we'll see kind of where things go. Not sure. We might sneak one in this week before Saturday, possibly. But we're still figuring out everybody's schedules, so we will see. But ultimately, you know, we'll get there sooner or later by dint of math, if nothing else. So more of that soon. Of course, in February, we have a new campaign starting up that I'm very excited about, and we're getting closer. We're getting closer. And so more about that as we get nearer. But I've mentioned it before. It's going to be something about it's going to be espionage related, and it's going to be using Rosette Diceless. And we will more details as we get closer to that. So I think that is about where we are going to sit. Thank you all very much for watching. I very much appreciate it. Take care, and we will catch you next time. Farewell.